Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back to your daily crypto news and analysis. And today, we are going to be talking about Quant Network and QNT. So let's just dive in, and let's start off with this post here. So this is from Investopedia, and all I searched up was, what influences Bitcoin's price. And a lot of people kind of over confuse the idea of like what allows these assets to increase in value. I mean, obviously, yes, the more adopted these tokens become, the higher the price does go. But what really matters a lot in this space in the short term, because again, long term, I don't think it's going to matter at all, is the supply, the tokenomics, right? So Bitcoin has paved the way. Bitcoin has been that asset. It's been the asset of crypto. Whenever you talk to a normie out on the streets that doesn't really look at crypto, they're not invested into crypto, most likely they're going to say, "Oh, what? You mean Bitcoin?" when you talk about crypto. Because it's the most known token in crypto until something big happens. What is that big event? Well, it's most likely going to be a utility-driven market being realized in. I do think that we will see that eventually. I think that's going to take a little bit of time. But the reason why I'm talking about this and the reason why I'm really addressing it is we're talking about that six-figure number because we know that Bitcoin will eventually get to $100,000. Will it be this year? Will it be next year? Will it be 2025? We have no idea, right? And it's not even worth speculating on. But one thing that we know is that Bitcoin's price is affected by its supply and the overall demand for it, the availability, the competing cryptocurrencies, and investment sentiment. Overall, when we really start to see the mainstream media pushing Bitcoin and we start to see, everyone jumping in, FOMOing in, then yeah, the price of Bitcoin does significantly rise. But what does that mean for QNT? Because although, yes, when we look at Bitcoin supply, it does have a very low supply. I mean, when we look at it, it's 21 million tokens. But what about QNT, right? Because when we look at QNT, we know that QNT has 33% less supply of Bitcoin. The network effects of, Bitcoin has done very well for it. But what about the network effects of Quant? What about Quant's adoption? What about the players that will be utilizing Quant? Well, let's actually look into this because I have a very interesting way of really looking at the value of QNT. So first off, we talked about utility because utility does matter. I mean, listen, when we look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin has been touted as the store of value, the digital gold of the next generation, and why Bitcoin is going to be this. There's only one Bitcoin. There's no second best. It's Bitcoin. It's Bitcoin. It's Bitcoin. Like we hear it all the time, right? But what if there's a token that in the background is brewing to take over, to become the next number one? My opinion is QNT. So this was a post from 2019. We do see it's from Dread Bongo. He's posting this and it says, "You need the token to access Overledger. You need it for transactions and volume. All the transactions have to be signed, validated, and encrypted using the QNT token for security purposes. Without it, nothing works." Listen closely to this video.
We're going to cater for all markets because what we bring is that enterprise depth and volume. Because people need the Quant token, and it's in the utility paper. And I'm still hearing people saying, "What's the purpose of the token?" It's like, please just read the paper and understand what it can do. It's you need the token to access the ecosystem. It's use that for Overledger. You need it for transactions and volume. And from a security perspective, nothing will run unless you have the tokens, and all the transactions have to be able to be signed and validated and encrypted using the keys and the Quant token for security purposes.
Yes.
So without it, nothing works. And so people need to realize how, as you said, it's the keys to the ecosystem. We're going to cater for all markets.
So yeah, I mean, QNT provides the keys for the kingdom, provides the kings for Overledger, or the keys for Overledger. And I really do think that people really need to understand just how big this is. Because listen, like I said, with Bitcoin, with the supply of Bitcoin, and How all these maxis are saying Bitcoin's this, Bitcoin's that. At the end of the day, we know that there's been a ton of trial runs with Bitcoin. We know that Bitcoin as a currency has just failed. Is it a great store of value? I mean, you can question it all day long. In my opinion, I think that QNT is a way better store of value. Just my opinion, of course, but to me, I just don't think that Bitcoin provides any major value unless you were a maxi, right? Unless you were an original adopter of Bitcoin and you got rich off of it. Now you need, to shill it to everyone so that people buy it and FOMO in and have the price go up. I mean, besides that, there's really no value behind Bitcoin, in my opinion. So we look at what's happening, what's shifting around crypto. In my opinion, we are shifting towards that utility stage. I think that people value use and utility more than speculation, and I think that once we start to see a large enough shift happen around that subject, I think that that's when things like QNT are going to really take off. Now, again, we focus on the value here. We look at, QNT's chart compared to Bitcoin's chart. Where are we? Where are we? Like, this is the history of Bitcoin from the early days. Now, I don't have, the chart from like 2019, 2018 or so. I only have it from around like February 2021. Right? So we'll say arguably, maybe we're like around this stage of QNT where we topped a little bit, and now we're just waiting for the next major stage in QNT's life cycle. Will it be this right here? Is this going to be sorry, let me copy this real quick. Is this going to be the next level of QNT's price action where we kind of start to see a big shift happen? Like, we kind of already have that bottoming phase here on QNT. In my opinion, I don't think that we go much lower than that. What's going to be the next major area that we kind of reach out to? Is it going to be, and we can kind of look at this real quick. Let me zoom out and really address the price action of QNT. So if we have something like this, and say for so, yeah, we're gonna top around like 2024, or well, I should say 2025 of December. What if this is the next stage for QNT? What if we, only come down to a certain level in price? We come back down to the 72 some dollar level, and we start to kind of build back up, and we finally break out of that resistance point, and we start to grow and grow and grow and grow, and all of a sudden, boom, we hit $2,700. People are selling off. They think that's it. They think it topped, and then all of a sudden, boom! By December of 2025, we're at around like $8,000, almost like $7,500. Could this be a possibility? Could this be the next stage of QNT? It's very possible. And the craziest thing is, this is just the beginning. Now, if we look at this, yeah, I mean, by 2025, this could be a reality, and then we kind of top out. And, we're in this bear market for a while. I mean, realistically speaking, this bear market from 2013 all the way to about like 2017, 2018 to the tops took about like 1,400 days. Put that into perspective real quick. This is what would eventually happen if that was the case. So about 1,470 days in total. Don't know. So this would bring us to about 2029. December of 2029, we could very well see a much higher valuation on QNT. Could it be in the 20,000? Could it be in the 40,000? We don't know. But I will say this, I always try to look at QNT versus Bitcoin because I do think that the evolution of QNT compared to Bitcoin and what we have seen from Bitcoin's point of view in the past is very interesting. I do think that with all of the clientele, with all of the major innovation that's happening over at Quant, there's just no way QNT isn't priced at a much higher valuation. But to me, I think that this, near $10,000 price target is something very interesting. Could we blow past these, levels that we've seen from Bitcoin? 100%. I mean, listen, I'm not going to sit here and say that we need to follow this bars graph, this, hypothetical bars graph perfectly. Absolutely not. Like, this bars graph doesn't really mean much. I'm just using Bitcoin as a price example of what we could see here on out. To me, when we look at the again, the network effects here, it's not through retail. It's not through, these billionaires shilling you Bitcoin. Go FOMO in, sell your house, mortgage your house for more Bitcoin, like Michael Saylor was saying. No, that's not what we need to rely on. All we need to rely on is institutional grade adoption. Like for an example, like going back to 2021, like well done, Luke Riley, for demoing with Oracle a live integration of Overledger with Oracle blockchain platform to enable interoperability and token swaps of digital assets. The crazy thing is that like this is powering everyday life. Like this is an airline loyalty program. You have the airline manager, you have flight traveler, car rental. I mean everything around. Like this is everyday life. Like they are preparing you for what's going to be happening next. Like we are seeing the evolution of DLT in front of our face, of what's going to happen. We are seeing the core infrastructure of the DLT society being built out before our eyes. And all of this is centered on tokenization. This is centered on some of the largest names around this space. I mean, this is with Hyperledger and Oracle. I mean, two of the biggest enterprise grade names around cloud based services and even crypto. Hyperledger, we talk about Hyperledger so much because they are such a big name around enterprise adoption. And this is just a beginning, right? This is just a beginning. We talk about tokenized fiat, tokenized currencies. CBDCs. All CBDCs should be interoperable domestically, which gives commercial banks choice and allows for cross-border transactions. Our multi-ledger token service, MLTS, removes single DLT limitations with interoperable CBDCs and that run on multiple DLTs at the same time. Like everything is happening in real time, and this is going back to 2021. The reason why I bring this up is because by now, you guys probably already seen all of the major innovation that's happening from the BIS, from the IMF, from the World Bank. They are all pushing for banks to custody crypto. I mean, at some point in time, we will see a major shift around crypto to the utility grade standpoint. And guess who's adopting Oracle? Guess or Overledger. It's names like Oracle. It's names like UST. It's institutional grade and enterprise grade adoption at the forefront of crypto. And yes, I do believe that banks and financial institutions will start to adopt Overledger. We already know that the government of UK on their website has listed Quant as a technology provider for their infrastructure around digital assets and DLT. This is why when we look at Bitcoin, like the network effects of Bitcoin has been great. The adoption cycle of Bitcoin has been great. The price of Bitcoin has been great. I'm not writing that off. I mean, going from cents to $70,000, and we know that it will most likely hit 100 and plus $1,000 in the next major stepping stones of Bitcoin's price action going into the next year or so. We know that it has done very well. But, it's time to move along and it's time to realize the next major winner here. In my opinion, when we look at QNT, yes, I do think that we should all be prepared for us to come back down in terms of price. I think that losing $99, the 382, is going to be a significant warning sign that we will most likely come back down and touch around the $70 range. I will be a huge buyer around $70 because going forward, like I said, I do expect us to reach those high targets. I mean, think about it like this. If you even buy within this green area, the next run up, in my opinion, even if we do top out, say for so 2024, November of 2024, not too crazy. I know that a lot of people are like, wow, that's so long. I don't think that you need to wait too long. I think that we will see higher price targets. I mean, we might even go crazy this year. We don't know, right? Because again, like going off of the time frame that we are already at, from the topping point back here to where we are currently, I mean, it's been like well over 400 some days, almost 500. But this would be about a 42x opportunity, and to that high candle that we were talking about, that $8,000 almost candle, this would be a 122x opportunity. I am very confident with that, especially if we are investing large amounts of money. I mean, think about it. Like QNT to me is a safe asset, and it's a safe vehicle. Could things go wrong? Could QNT go to zero hypothetically? Anything in this market can, right? I don't treat anything as like all right, yeah, this is my lifeline. It's never going to go to zero. I don't really care about, anything with, what people will say like QNT is the most blah 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 this that. It will never go to zero. I mean, anything is possible. Does that mean that it will? No. But I'm just saying, like, I always treat it as like if I am investing something, it's something that I can afford to lose. But if I'm investing large amounts of money, I'm looking at QNT for the long term because I do believe that this will become the next Bitcoin. I do believe that when we look at the overall price of, QNT, we will seem, well, or we will, really kind of see something very similar to this price action here, where it's kind of like a, uptrend, but it's a slow uptrend, and then we will seem like we were the geniuses of tomorrow by investing into something like QNT, realizing the value of QNT, and knowing what's coming because we see all of the evolution happening before our eyes. With this within this market, we see DLT becoming a core piece of the puzzle for central bankers, and this is just the beginning. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe to notifications on if you guys want more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. As always, I hope that you all have a beautiful day, beautiful night, wherever you guys are in this beautiful world. This has been Nick. Peace out, guys.